3 points for Manchester City against Everton. A little bit more nervy at the end than perhaps they would have liked against Everton.
It was, because Bravo made a bad error. A great little Cruyff turn to start with. Then he needs to play the ball that little bit longer. He tries to poke it through into midfield, gets it cut out, and suddenly Everton were back in the game. But if you look at the amount of chances Man City created and the way they played, really they should have won the game quite comfortably. It wasn't vintage Man City, particularly in the first half, but just 1 or 2 tweaks to the system. They played with a back three, which was a surprise, with Rodri playing on the right-hand side of that back three. It meant the wing-backs would get that little bit higher, and Mendy down the left-hand side. And the position of Mahrez was slightly different. So often we see him play wide on the right. He played just in behind Jesus at times, and his passing was excellent throughout the game.
Jesus could have had a hat-trick, hit the post, and he had other chances as well. He'd be a starter for most other teams in that league, wouldn't he?
Of course he would. You know, he's an excellent player. His movement's good. He's got lots of pace. I don't think he's been at his very best at Man City since he's been there, but he's just beginning to look a top-class player again.
But how easy is it to be at your best when you're getting a game, then sitting for 2? And it's the consistency, and we've seen when he gets a run of games, because Aguero's been out, he's a decent
But he did have his chance. When he first came to Man City,
he did.
I think that Pep Guardiola was happier with him in the side than he was with Aguero. He wasn't happy with Aguero's work rate. He's improved that, and Aguero's realised that if you want to play for Pep Guardiola, I'm going to have to close the ball down and work hard and make run after run. And Jesus didn't quite play at his best, and then suddenly Aguero was the number 1 again.
Publicly, Guardiola's conceded the title. Privately, do you still think he thinks there's a chance?
No, there's absolutely no chance that Man City will catch Liverpool. Liverpool aren't going to drop that many points, and I don't think Man City will win all their games from now to the end of the season. But if you're a professional person, and Pep Guardiola is that, he's a perfectionist at times, he wants his team to win every game from now to the end of the season. He'll demand that they play with an intensity. But overall, I think the players still have it in their head. Champions League, FA Cup, that's the important thing.
So therefore we saw a few changes for this one. Do you think he'll continue not to experiment, because the crux, I mean, he's got David Silva coming back now, he came off the bench. Do you think the next couple of months for City are about making sure he's got the right team for the big game in the Champions League?
Yeah, I think he's going to rest players at the right time. Champions League against Real Madrid, he's got to win that over 2 legs, and then they move on to the next one. That's what he's got to win for Manchester City. They're still the favourites, as we've seen in recent times, even though they've not played particularly well in certain occasions in the Premier League. Liverpool way at the top. You'd think they would be the favourites for the Champions League, but it isn't the case. Man City are still the favourites, and he's got to get the team selection right. He's got to get his best players fit for those games, and he's got to make sure they play with the intensity they can do. The only thing missing from Man City this season, they're still a creative force. They haven't defended well enough when the ball changes hands.
Well, they've lost one of their best defenders, if not.
I'm not just talking about their defence. I'm talking about in midfield. There's not that closing down that there was in the last couple of seasons.
Let's talk Everton for a minute, because that's a free hit, isn't it? A game at Man City.
Yeah.
You could have got something out of it at the end.
They could have done. I mean, Ancelotti went very brave come the end of the game in terms of, they were 2-0 down. Yet you can say, well, he needs to be brave when you're 2-0 down, but he played with Walcott on the right-hand side. Richarlison went to the left. You know, he played Calvert-Lewin and Moises Kean up front, so he went with almost a front 4, and they got themselves back into the game. And they didn't really have too many more chances, but they looked more of a threat, and he just played with 2 in central midfield.
Do you think he's still experimenting since he came in? Because we've seen Coleman play as a right centre-back. We've seen Sidibe play further forward and more withdrawn as well. We've seen him a 4 at the back, a 3 at the back. How long before he gets the team that he thinks, yeah, this will do me?
Well, what he does, and he did it at Napoli right at the end, he plays with a back 4, but it ends up being a back 3 quite often. And he did it today. Coleman was playing as a right back, but when the ball was down the other side, he'd tuck in and make a back 3, and it meant Sidibe could then go higher up the field, and Luca Digne could then play higher up the field. And then when they lost possession, they went to a back 4 again. So he's trying to experiment with that rotation at the back, but he did that at Napoli, so nothing new there. And he's trying to find the right combinations in the front areas. So I think Bernard started the game, but didn't really play particularly well. Sigurdsson, still a player that I think can open up defences.
And finally, Lorenzo Insigne's name in the Italian press over the last 24 hours, linked again with Everton. Could he work for Everton, or, as you are fond of saying, let's see what they can do with the guys they've got before deciding who needs to be brought in?
Yeah, I think that's what Ancelotti's got to do. He's got a whole group of new players to him. He's got to make sure he gets the right combinations. He's got to work hard with a lot of his players. Yes, Insigne is an excellent player playing off the left-hand side, but I'm not sure that would suit Everton at the moment. They need good, solid, hard-working players that can do both sides of the game. Be attacking when they need to be, but also work hard defensively. They're not out of the relegation battle just yet, so they need to make sure they've got players that are going to work hard day in, day out.
What they do have after the FA Cup tie against Liverpool is a tasty run of fixtures in the Premier League. This was about City, though, all 3 points for them, despite the changes, and 2 for Gabriel Jesus.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.